Good evening, listeners and viewers. Welcome to this week's edition of Beyond the Headlines. I'm your host, Gordon Joseph, and this evening I'm joined by my guest, a wonderful lady. She is the Attorney General and also the Minister with responsibility for labor and labor relations and everything with labor, the Honorable Senator Claudette Joseph. And also my distinguished guests, always smiling, Dr. Curlan Gilchrist. Lady and gentlemen, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, and viewers, this evening we will be taking on that topic that is very current. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's anxious for January to come because that is when the new minimum wage will take effect. So we'll get right into the gist of the conversation this evening. Of course, you know, there will be this segment when those of you who are viewing and listening, you can call in and get certain clarifications and make certain contributions. But to get the ball rolling, I'll start off with my dear friend, Minister Claudette Joseph. I want you in your own way, from an administrative standpoint, to explain an acceptable, appreciated definition of the minimum wage. What is minimum
That's
wage?
an interesting question to start
I want to get it from the beginning. So
you got technical one time, man.
Well, of course, I want to know what is minimum wage.
Yes. So good evening to all of the viewers on GBN Beyond the Headlines. It's good to be here once more. It's been a while since I've come on the program, so it's good to be here, and I hope we have a good, informative session.
We always do.
Yes, and thank you for having us on behalf of the government of Grenada. And well, to answer your question directly and to put it as simply as possible, the minimum wages in any country, including Grenada, is the wage set by statute for specified categories of workers below which employers are prohibited from paying employees. And let me just make it clear from the outset, the minimum wage is essentially the lowest wage within specific categories that employers may pay employees. Not the wage, or not the maximum, or not the prescribed wage. It is the lowest wage, so that a person employed in one of the categories covered by the minimum wages order, in most instances, will be employed at a higher wage than the minimum wage. And in fact, that's the ideal, a higher wage than the minimum wage. But it is just that the employer cannot pay the employee a wage below the prescribed one set by the law. And that's what we are engaging in now.
So it's very likely that employers could use that and say, well, that's what I have to pay you. But again, as Dr. Gilchrist would amplify on that, I hope, that is what we would like to look at as an entry point. All right, yeah, that's the lowest you can be paid.
You can be paid.
And based on experience and performance and so forth, then it goes up.
You have incremental increase. Even before, even at some entry point level, based on the qualification and the experience, or even the policy of the employer, or what the market might be demanding at the time, you may even enter at a higher rate than the minimum wages. Because, for example, you will learn during the discourse here, particularly with Dr. Gilchrist, who has graciously agreed to chair the Wages Advisory Committee and has done a wonderful job so far. You will learn that in some instances, the market is already ahead of what the current minimum wages are. So, for example, in the transportation sector, the current minimum wage is $35 a day, the minimum. but the average wage in reality is more like 60, what the market is doing presently. So in some instances, the wages already run above the minimum wages as currently obtains.
Okay. All right, let me go to my good friend Dr. Gilchrist, who is so ably ready to, share his knowledge with us on that. Something as significant as Minister Jospeh explained. Having said that, how important, how significant is it for us to have this minimum wage set, and not only set, but continuously on a frequent enough basis reviewed?
Yes, you. Good night to all listening public. Good night to you, sir, my honorable friend. Very, very important question, I believe, and it touches to the real reason why the government is embarking on this exercise. And there are a number of reasons why we should attend to the minimum wage, a number of reasons. And you would have heard in some of our public consultations, and even at the sector level, we speak about a wage that will allow an individual to acquire, the basic necessities of life so that they can live at a satisfactory level. So that minimum wage is so designed that you are able to live on it. Yeah, that's the objective. Of course, you get there progressively. Now, I just want to slip something in, that there are so many different concepts floating around. You have the living wage, you have the just wage, and all kind of wage, right? But the minister is correct, given the fact that we are in a market economy. You have ups and downs, yeah? And this is why we pay attention to the minimum and hold it there, because the economy moves up and down. Sometimes you have a boom, high wages, then you have, boom, low wages, I should say. When there's scarcity, the wages tend to be high, and so on. So it's very important. Now, one of the things that we are hoping to achieve is by raising the bar, that we are hoping to put more money in people's pocket, yeah? And that in a sense will help, increase the circulation of money in the country. As people get more money, they spend more, and the cycle and its impact on the economy, So we are hoping that is an achievement by adjusting the minimum wage upwards. And the first point I raised was having a wage where you can live comfortable. That's where we are going. We may not achieve that in totality, because you have different sectors and the situation varies from sector to sector, but it's an objective, and we are hoping to get there, if not this round, but in the next round of minimum wage adjustment.
Okay. Now, having said that, what are some of the factors considered in your consultation? So that means you must have been, hearing from the people, their cries and the aches and the concerns. Now, what are some of the main factors that are considered in determining the minimum wage?
Yes, well, one of the main factors is cost of living / inflation. The time value of money, and money loses value over time. And the last time the wage was adjusted was, I believe, 2011. So it's over 12 years now. So you imagine what happens to the value of that money since then. Yeah, so, and cost of living has really risen. And our calculation as a committee, when we look at the cost of living using our National Consumer Price Index, on average, between 2011 and now, we got about 18%, yeah, cumulatively speaking. But if you take food inflation over the last 11, 12 years, you're talking about over 20%. Right? And if wages don't increase to match that, people's real standard of living would decline. So the cost of living was a major factor, you know, in the adjustment that we looked at, and we used that approach when we were speaking to employers, and they have accepted it as a valid factor.
Okay. If I may say, that's the very thing that inspired us. If you recall, during the election campaign 2022, review of the minimum wages was one of the specific promises that we made, and we're very serious about it, because in interacting with people, we see how difficult it is for people to get by on the current wages. As Dr. Gilchrist said, cost of living and the price of a basket of goods. In fact, the last time the minimum wages were adjusted in 2011, it was done based on the price of a basket of goods as of 2008. So even then, the minimum wages might have been adjusted on the lower side, right? And so now we have minimum wages in place now that were adjusted based on the price of a basket of goods in 2008. Just imagine that. So this is what our people have been living with. And we spoke a lot about adjusting the minimum wages, improving the condition of workers generally in Grenada, and excuse me, and also alleviating poverty. That's one of our goals, is to work towards the elimination of poverty in Grenada. It's a tall order, but we're going to work at it, and little by little, policy by policy, we're going to improve the lives and livelihoods of the people of Grenada. So it is not just the minimum wages, it's the cumulative effect of all the measures that we are taking and intend to take. We started with payment of pension and gratuity, constitutionally due but ignored since 1985, thereabouts. The mode by which workers are paid twice monthly, which enhances the spending power of our people. And we encourage the private sector, those who have not already done so, to follow suit and to work towards paying your workers twice monthly. We talk about improving the labor relations climate, and I think even the members of the union leaders, acknowledged when recently they signed the collective bargaining agreements with government that this is the best we have enjoyed in terms of a healthy and harmonious industrial relations climate so far. We are now on the minimum wages, because it's all about people and having a healthy, robust economy for employers and employees, including government as an employer and government as the agency most responsible for ensuring we have a buoyant economy. So this review is required by law to take place every 3 years, right? Every 3 years. And the last review was in 2011. So when it was done in 2011, it should have been done in 14, 17, 20, 22, right? And so...
And you said that's constitutionally due?
Not constitution, by the statute, by the Employment Act.
Okay.
By the Employment Act, the minimum wages are to be reviewed every 3 years. Last review, 2011, and I must pause here to plug that we would all recall who was in office in 2011 when the last review actually took place, and the minimum wages went up a little bit, and who should have done it in 2014, 17, 20, 22. The people who claim they love the ordinary man and woman, the ordinary worker.
Okay.
So we moved with haste as soon as we had the opportunity to do so. So that by 1st September, we had commissioned the Wages Advisory Committee. We had constituted the Wages Advisory Committee, and they started their work from 1st September 2022. And so it's been meticulous work, thorough work. Most people would have seen, and many participated in the consultations that took place throughout Grenada and Carriacou. And so those were public consultations. The committee also had numerous private consultations with employers and employees alike in the private and public sector, and all the different categories covered by the current legislation, and some new ones which we could talk about during the session, because we are introducing new categories and new concepts, such as equality across gender and location. We could get into
we'll get into that.
details.
But I want to go back to Dr. Gilchrist. Now, having said that, where it was statutorily due every 3 years, but that wasn't the case, how would that have affected the economy? Knowing that workers' wages should be reviewed, and
it has.
How has it affected the economy?
It has affected the economy, and I can speak as an economist, because what has happened.
But that's why I ask you.
What has happened is that we are known to be a low-wage economy in the context of the OECS. For example, let's look at Antigua, with a population of, say, 70,000, thereabout. Their gross domestic product, which is the value of goods and services produced, is over 6 billion. We have a population much larger than Antigua, and the value we put to what we produce is just about 3 billion. So it says that the payment, the value attached to what we produce is really understated. And this exercise will therefore upscale the value, in other words, get to a true value. And the whole idea of the minimum wage is really, as wealth is created, you want the employee to get a fair share. So there's an element of justice, just an element of justice, a fair share of the creation of wealth. Because labor is a significant component of the creation of wealth, and the union would agree with that. Okay, and therefore it is very important. I think we missed out. We really missed out over the years in that alignment. And it's something we are seeking to correct. We may not get it 100% now, but we're getting there.
It's a work in progress.
It's work in progress. So we are getting there, and we have been speaking in very detailed sessions with the employers, going through numbers, crunching numbers, looking at their ability to pay. And of course, I know later on you'll ask about the productivity issue.
Of course.
Because to whom much is given,
much is expected.
Much is expected. Yes. So it's also a message we are also putting forward to employees as we simultaneously talk about adjusting the wage, the value for money, productivity. So we are pushing that message also, because employers have been saying they have no problem with adjusting the wage, but just give them value. Just give them value. And that is fair. That is fair.
I tend to wonder at times, is it a cultural thing where people just like, I'd use a colloquial term, scamming the work, because or is it a case where they're feeling that they're being overworked and underpaid, so they are giving work for the pay? Could that be the case? Okay, we're not being paid well enough, so we're giving you what we're getting paid for. Could that be the case?
It might be a combination of things, which is why, as government, our responsibility is to ensure that we have a just and equitable society. So, as we do right by workers, in complying with the law to adjust the minimum wages every 3 years, so too we want to do right by employers to ensure that, one, the adjustment is manageable, which is why we took the consultative approach, right, to ensure that from the employer's standpoint, the adjustment is manageable and that there wouldn't be adverse consequences such as loss of jobs and so on account of the adjustment. So these adjustments are by and large with the concurrence of the employers in the respective sectors. At the same time, in creating a just and equitable society, workers must give a fair day's work for a fair day's pay, because the more you work, it means the more you produce. It means the more the employer goods and services, the more goods and services he has to sell. He gets more income. That puts him in a position to pay you more, and that's a cycle we want to create. So we want to start to encourage our people to be productive. And I think by and large, our people are productive, right? As they say, just maybe a few bad apples, if you want to put it that way. I think by and large, our people, but you want to encourage productivity and fairness in dealing not just with the customers of your employers, but with your employers, because you and your employer have a contract, and your contract is that you produce and you are compensated for that labor.
Yeah, but I think it has to do with the whole industrial climate. You know, once workers are feeling, and that's just my opinion, I mean, I'm an employee too, you know, once I feel that I am being treated justly, then I'll work. I'll work. But if I am thinking that I'm being shortchanged and treated unfairly, then obviously my whole morale would be different. All right? Now, there's a concern out there, and I hope there is a scientific approach to mitigating against it, because some folks are saying, okay, if they are raising our salaries, like I had conversations with a few people, and they are saying, prices are going to be skyrocketing come January because salaries are going up, so people have to sell their goods at a higher price so that they could break even and make back their profit margin and so forth. What's your take on that, Doc?
Yes, well,
have you heard that argument?
I've heard it, and I think it allows us the opportunity to continue to explain what we are doing with this exercise. And many sectors, the market would not be interfered with, because there are rates that people are already receiving the rates of, in some of the areas. Yeah, and I can mention transportation. A bus conductor, for example, the old rate speaks to $35 per day. You can't get a bus conductor for $35 a day. The market at the worst performing route is around 60. Our proposal is 60, and the market pays 70 and 80 and $90. So they are set.
That's for the conductors.
Yeah, and
drivers are more than that.
Yeah. So I'm saying that we were very careful not to shock the market, because and that could trigger other issues. So we were very, very careful. That's why we work with employers, mindful of their own, the viability of the business and the challenges they have, because we know labor is a significant cost of production and can move straight through to prices. We are very conscious about that, and we work with them. So from the work we have been doing, we don't anticipate any significant price increases. Yeah, we don't anticipate that. If there may be other factors contribute, but not the wage. But I must say though, there are one or two sectors that the adjustment would be about $200 to $300. Yeah, and we are speaking to to employers, because if there arise a case where the adjustment is significant, of course we can have a staggered approach and face it in. And employers have been speaking to us in that context. Yeah. Tomorrow, for example, on Wednesday we meet with the sanitation workers, for example, which is a whole new area. No, that is not covered in the current minimum wage, but they want to talk, yeah, because there are issues there. There are issues of labor shortages. So sometimes you don't see the truck pass around because they can't get people to work the truck.
Well, I'm very happy that you raised that, because I had personal conversation with a couple workers. I call them the sanitary technicians, and I gave a gentleman a ride one night. And when he said certain things to me, I was in shock.
You were in shock?
I was really in shock, because I thought that this is one of the sectors that would really be taking care of their workers because of the important job that they do. And when he told me what his day's earning was and the conditions that were within the contract, I was like, no. So I'm very happy that you all have brought that one under the microscope as well.
Yes, we are. So that's the whole idea of transformation, to go where others fear to go, and to confront issues where others fail. No, but that's the whole idea of transformation. And when you encounter structural and difficult areas, you attack it and you transform it,
of course,
and turn it around. So what may seem to be a negative turn to be a positive. Right. Where people are not happy, they become, where they are sad, they become happy. It's the outcome of the transformation process, and that's a sector that we are going to meet with. And of course, in speaking about wages, there are other issues that arise, terms and conditions of employment. So we have to be careful how we treat with just the wages element, because I don't have a mandate to deal with terms and conditions of employment. I don't have a mandate, but I'm conscious about it, and we note it. We note it, but there are other issues, but we try to zero in on the wage one.
Okay, we do for our first break in the program. We take that break, and we'll be back after these messages. This is Beyond the Headlines for the Monday, the 9th of October. We'll be back after these messages.
Our 11th Grenada Debates champion.
Grenada Debates, more than just a competition.
Littering is not.
It's a national collaboration, nurturing curiosity, research, critical thinking, and confidence among our secondary school students all over Grenada.
We need to teach more cognitive.
Bright young minds are sparking powerful ideas.
Financial capital is just a passive factor.
Not just a debate. For the audience, it's a voyage of self-discovery. Our debaters dare us to be informed, to listen and respect different perspectives, even while we champion our beliefs. With the unwavering commitment of educators, public and private sector entities, the media, and an army of volunteers, this impactful national challenge unfolds every year between September and November. The Grenada Debates, shaping the way we think.
Have you heard about the new Softweave bathroom tissue with total hygiene? As hygiene and safety have taken center stage, our bathroom tissue is now manufactured with 3 different technologies to offer the best protection for you and your family. UVC light technology for a safe and effective disinfection process, eliminating 99.9% of microorganisms. Also, production at high temperatures, killing all types of germs and bacteria. And it's pH controlled with delicate fibers to prevent irritation for even sensitive skin. Softweave Total Hygiene Bathroom Tissue, available in supermarkets and shops island-wide. Visit Softweave Caribbean Facebook or Instagram pages for more information.
Join the Ministry of Agriculture and Lands, Fisheries and Cooperatives for the observance of World Food Day celebrations October 16th to 20th, 2023 under the theme Water is Life, Water is Food, Leave No One Behind. Monday, October 16th, the Minister's Address to the Nation and panel discussion dissecting the issue of water management and sustainability. Tuesday, Eating Water campaign with the distribution of water-based foods at strategic locations throughout Grenada. Wednesday and Thursday, virtual engagement on water management and the blue economy. The town of Grenville will then come alive on Friday, October 20th. Official ceremony, grand exhibition, and culture show. World Food Day celebrations 2023, embracing all in the sustainable management of our water resources, celebrating our farmers, vendors, agro-processors, and value chain partners. World Food Day celebrations, October 16th to the 20th, 2023.
Do you have muscular pain that no one can find a solution for? Are you tired of taking meds for joint and other pains? Hills and Valley Medicare Center on Grenville Street, St. George is here to help you heal. We will help you map a path to your full recovery. Visit us Monday to Saturday for a consultation with our on-site doctor, physiotherapist, and massage team. You will be glad you did. Our Medicare Center, a proud member of the Hills and Valley group of companies. On the hilltop or in the valley, we are with you wherever life takes you. Hills and Valley Pharmacy. Your health is our business.
Climate change is real, bringing hotter days and less rain. Less rain means less water, so it is crucial for all of us to conserve water at home. When washing my fruits and vegetables, I use a bowl of water, and later I reuse it to water my plants. This is how I save water at home. What are you waiting for?
Welcome back, viewers and listeners. It's Beyond the Headlines for today, Monday, the 9th day of October. Gordon Jospeh in your company with my guests, Senator the Honorable Claudette Joseph and Dr. Curlan Gilchrist, the economist. I want us to go into a zone now to highlight the sectors that are most impacted. I know some new sectors have been brought under the microscope, so elaborate on that, because I can tell you, and well, we haven't spoken in a while, but Dr. Gilchrist and I, we always bounce every now and then, and this is really a burning issue, this minimum wage thing, because there are a whole lot of misconceptions and misinformation being put out there and so forth. So I want us to really use this opportunity to clarify some of the myths that some people are having and to regularize some of the misinformation that has been disseminated. So the categories that will be most impacted and some of the new categories that you've brought on.
So all categories currently under the minimum wages order would be considered, and all wages adjusted. So we're talking agricultural workers, we're talking construction workers, all categories, electricians, plumbers, masons, steel benders. Steel benders were, they're there now. All the different categories, all right? Carpenters, all different categories of construction workers, joiners, all store attendants, clerical assistants, shop assistants, so people working in the stores and so, domestic health, caregivers, and in the current order, only persons caring for the elderly are covered. We are now including persons caring for children, early child care providers. We have a new category call center workers.
Wow.
They're going to be a new category.
Wow. That's
Media workers, going to be a new category, right? Okay. Never before included. And there's a couple other categories that we consider, like the persons in the ICT sector. But given that it's an emerging sector, it's a little difficult to treat with them in this round because it's a sector that's still settling.
Still trying to get a prototype.
Right. So we have a number of these categories of workers who were not covered before. And then again, we have people in the hospitality industry, cooks and chefs and maintenance workers,
bartenders,
the housekeeping, that's what we're looking for, housekeeping, all of these people, bartenders, barbers and hairdressers and so all of these informal sectors who generally will not, well, I shouldn't say informal, because informal sector has a different meaning, but these sectors who would not generally be unionized workers, because the workers who have unions representing them, they bargain with the employers for wages and fringe benefits. So these wages, these minimum wages will cover mainly people who are not covered or protected by a union or represented by a union. And so we are broadening the categories. We are breaking ground in the Caribbean because some of these categories are not included anywhere. And another way in which we are breaking ground is that presently there is a disparity. There's a difference between what female workers get, for example, under the agricultural sector. Female workers get a lower minimum wage than male workers currently. We are going to remove that discriminative element in the law and provide for all workers to get the same wage in the specific category. There's also an element that currently exists where in some categories, based on location, whether it's St. George, St. Patrick, Carriacou, or St. Andrew, different part of the island, some workers are paid more. So workers in the hospitality sector in St. George will be paid more than those in St. Patrick.
But why is that so?
Well, we don't understand the rationale. Well, perhaps Mr. Gilchrist might be able to explain. But that is how it has been. It might be a legacy of the past, a legacy of slavery, where women were either not paid at all or paid significantly less than men when wages were eventually introduced for workers. So it might be a legacy issue. But we are going to remove those distinctions so that the bartender at Pithiams will get the same minimum wage, will be entitled to the same minimum wage as the bartender at Sandals. Same category. So these are some of the changes that we are going to introduce, which we know will positively impact workers and employers alike, because the employers actually agree with these changes.
Okay. Well, that's good.
That's good. Yeah, as I said,
that's good.
The issue of the environment, sanitation, that's a new area. It's not currently in the minimum wage category, but we are going to start consultation soon to see what's going on there, what workers are being paid. So we are meeting with employers, contractors, and see what can be recommended. Looking at it objectively, because of course whatever wage is being recommended, it must be affordable. I would not in any way impede the viability of the business. We want business to grow. I was telling someone that we can prove, if we have the data, that this increase in minimum wage can actually help productivity, because as workers are better paid, they feel better about themselves, They come to work on time, they produce, they don't have to steal or do anything. So there are social positive consequences of adjusting the minimum wage upwards in terms of its social impact.
That's from the employer's perspective.
Right? Yeah.
But the next question I want to ask is, how will the change in the minimum wage impact the national economy?
Yes, so as I said, of course, it will help with increasing circulation of money. Yeah, and of course, and the value of what we produce will increase. So we have a larger economy, a more valued economy. Yeah, so that's one of the impacts in terms of circulation of money, and that has its effect in terms of other sectors.
Yeah, but what about things that elements or inputs that we don't have control over? Let's look at this. What's happening with the oil market now?
Yeah.
And it's gonna inflate again with this war that just started with Hamas and Israel.
Yes, so you're correct. So this is what we are monitoring, because most of our inflation are imported, and we have no control over. And the government has taken steps over the last year or two to cushion the impact of that imported inflation. Yeah? To cushion the impact, because we would never recommend an increase. Every time inflation goes up, or cost goes up, you increase the wage. Of course, I mean, we can't do that. Yeah? Because wages are cost of production. That would just be inflationary. Because as you know, what fuels inflation is when you have wages going up and there is no increase in productivity. That's like a fuel for inflation. You don't want that, then money worth nothing. And we are not better off. So we have to
money and no value.
And no value to it. So we have to manage that and give credit to the government for trying to cushion that imported inflation and how it affects the population. You know, you could remember the measures taken at the freight, capping freight and capping the freight and other measures in terms of reducing the value of the tax. And so those are measures to help the situation now. So all of that was to put the employee in a position where their paycheck has value and can acquire the things that they need. The wage adjustment is just one of it. But there are other measures that has to accompany the wage adjustment so that the employee can maximize the use of his money in a way that he can feed his family properly. The free tuition at TAMCC is another measure taken to help the employee maximize his wages, because you don't have to pay that money there, so you can use that money to acquire other goods and so
value now.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because attend to other thing, the issue of health care, so you can divert money to health care now, taking care of yourself, because you don't have the tuition to pay. So it's a whole package of measures aimed at allowing the employee to be able to maximize the use of his income to take care of himself and his family.
From a political standpoint, Senator Jospeh, how important is that for your administration?
Well, it's very important, because we, as I said before, we aim for a fair and equitable society, but one that is also prosperous, where people don't merely survive, but in fact they thrive and are put in a position where they can create generational wealth. We are very serious in this government that we must leave Grenada in a better place than we inherited. And for us, that's one of the primary reasons why the people elected us, to build a better Grenada than we inherited. Because we auditioned for the job and we said we can do a better job, we can manage better, and we are given this opportunity to do so. So that's why, as I said before, cumulatively we are taking all of these measures, including the measures I mentioned before that directly impact workers, and also including the measures mentioned by Dr. Gilchrist, right? The cap on freight on freight at the 2019 level, the reduction or removal in taxes on over 20 item taxes, as particularly VAT. Remember, we zero rated in excess of 20 items that were not previously zero rated. And of course, there was the increase by 5% on sugar. That is directly connected to our thrust for a healthier nation and directly connected to our healthcare sector, where we are going to be focusing on building not just a new physical facility, a new hospital, but also training more medical personnel, doctors, nurses, technicians, and so. So it's a holistic approach we are taking, where the measures we take complement and support each other. So minimum wages is not just about complying with the law. Yes, we must comply with the law because it says it has to be done every 3 years, but it is part of a cumulative package of policies and decisions and measures that we are taking as government aimed at making a better Grenada, making a more prosperous citizen, making a wealthier citizen, making a citizen who can acquire wealth that they will use to improve themselves and pass on to the generations to come. So, for example, and I will take the opportunity to address it here, there's a great, I would say, misunderstanding, in some cases genuine, others deliberate, relating to how we have rolled out the distribution of the houses that were donated.
There.
You're coming there, right? It's all part of the package.
Yes.
Now, what we must recall is that these houses, the ones that were distributed previously by the previous administration, were not free. These houses were never free. So that's one myth we must debunk. They were never given for free. What the occupants were required to do was to sign leases. I think the total amount was almost the same as what we are selling the house for. So you were leasing it. In other words, you're paying a rent. You're paying this rent.
Lease to own.
I don't know what I don't think it was a lease to own. As far as I am aware, it was not a lease to own, because when the person passed, the unit went back to the housing authority.
That's in the previous.
That's how I understand it. The previous ones.
Okay.
So they never really get to own it as theirs. That's how I understand it, right? So you're paying this rent, but it never really becomes yours ultimately.
So the intent wasn't ownership?
The intent wasn't ownership.
Okay.
We have changed that because we want to empower people and give people wealth in their hand, so that the units, the 2-bedroom is valued at around, I think, $200,000.
204.
Right. So we have enhanced it. We have put in fantastic cabinetry, and so you've seen it. Previously, they were given as shelves. So those people who couldn't afford to put in the cabinets and so, they're still living out of their clothes in cardboard boxes and a little table in a corner for it, right? So we have outfitted the place with cabinets and so. High quality stuff, mind you. And the single unit, I think, valued at one something or something like that, right? 74, right? So you see, and that's a value. We are selling those units at 55%. The Housing Authority is selling those units at 55%, not 55, 45. Knock off, right? Yeah, so right away.
55%.
55%, right? So right away, yes, right away, because it's $70,000 for one and $55,000 for the next, right? So right away you're getting equity. You're getting to buy something, you're getting a good deal, so to speak. You're getting a discount on the property, off the bat, because this is the value, but government is selling for less than half the value. That's one. And secondly, we have arranged with the financial institutions. I say government through the Housing Authority, arranged with the financial institution, the banks and the credit union, to allow persons to get mortgages. So right away you get into the banking system now, you're building good credit, you have equity in the property, and now you're building up a credit. Right? So you're going to have a good credit score or credit rating. You're in the system. And you're paying, in some instances, less monthly than you would have paid if you had done a lease under the old system. So your mortgage payment will be, the highest I understand is going to be like just over $300. So it's 2-something, 3-something. So tell me. So you're paying less than you would pay a rent if you're going to rent an apartment, because you're not getting that quality apartment for $200 and $300 a month. No way. You're not getting it nowhere in Grenada, right? So if you had to pay rent, you're paying a fraction, a third of what you will pay if you're renting. And if you're doing the lease arrangement as previously done, you're paying Housing Authority the same $200-$300, but you ain't getting to own it. So tell me which one is a better deal. Yeah. Ultimately, you're getting to own it. So when you own it, remember, you have equity. So you might be able to go to get a loan, the $55,000 you need to pay the Housing Authority for the unit, plus you might be able to get another $10,000 to buy your fridge and so because you have equity. Because remember, the thing is valued more than double what you're paying for it. So you could go to the bank and say, give me the $55 for Housing Authority and another $20 to furnish the house. Right? Easy like that. So that's a myth.
What I want to do, right? Now, I had Mr. Hugh Thomas with me this morning.
Oh, he was on.
Right. So that's the reason why I can quote the figures so accurately, because we were talking about that this morning. And I think it's a remarkable gesture. But I don't want us to deviate too much off the minimum wage thing. I want to make it factual and quite understandable. Now, how can someone whose category falls under the microscope now that their minimum wage has been adjusted, how can they take advantage? How practical can it be now?
That's excellent. Yes. Because let us say they are getting $60 a day. If you gross that up, say 20 working days in a month,
that's $1,200.
That's $1,200. And the payment under that scheme is around $300-$400. It's more affordable.
Yeah, it's the maximum, based on Mr. Thomas's explanation this morning, it's just about $420 max.
The most,
the highest paid one.
And this is why we are attempting to cover that echelon of category of workers at that level, to lift them up a bit. That's why we are going there and speaking to all sectors, looking at the first tranche, looking at the bottom. Workers that maybe you can call them unskilled. But everything is a skill now, so let me not use the phrase unskilled. But at that level, that's why we are looking to upskill them. Because the minimum wage gives you the opportunity now to be able to afford one of the Chinese houses and to afford the financing of it, and you look better at the banks. So there are benefits from the adjustments. Albeit, of course, we are doing it with the agreement of employers. The employers have to kind of sign off. All right, and we have had employers who are saying what is proposed, we need to look at it again. So we are looking at it. I mean, a couple, you may have seen things leaked out, but so we are looking at it. It's work in progress. We want to make sure everybody's on board and with the rates approved, so that implementation can be smooth. But there are benefits.
So
there are benefits.
The minimum wage kicks in from the 1st of January, right? Based on what I've gathered. So there's a window between now and then. Are there some categories that's still being consulted on, and trying to negotiate, especially with employers and employees coming together and coming to some level of what you call symbiosis?
Well, let me let Dr. Gilchrist lead on that answer, but just to say, we had a first round of consultation between April and end of May. March and June. Between March and June. And we have had an initial report, and then we are now embarking on a second round of consultations with all stakeholders. So
what we'll do, we'll take our final break, and viewers, after the break you are able to call in and ask your questions and make your suggestions. And of course, we urge you to be as brief as possible, as courteous as possible, but we'll be back after the break.
But when you need someone to help you to your feet, I'll be that beacon to your highest peak. Oh, I'll be right next to you, no, I will never leave. Come on, take my hands, we got everything we need. Cause you can look to me, yes, I can. Whenever you're in need, just call on me and I'll be on my way. I'll be by your side, never to divide, the light that shines our way. Wherever you road leads, we'll be right there with you. Wherever you road leads, we'll make your dreams come true. Nexa, 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 right next to you.
Nexa Credit Union, with you wherever your road leads.
Our 11th Grenada Debates champion.
The Grenada Debates, more than just a competition.
Littering is not.
It's a national collaboration nurturing curiosity, research, critical thinking, and confidence among our secondary school students all over Grenada.
We need to teach more cognitive.
Bright young minds are sparking powerful ideas.
Financial capital is just a passive factor.
Not just a debate. For the audience, it's a voyage of self-discovery. Our debaters dare us to be informed, to listen and respect different perspectives, even while we champion our beliefs. With the unwavering commitment of educators, public and private sector entities, the media, and an army of volunteers, this impactful national challenge unfolds every year between September and November. The Grenada Debates, shaping the way we think.
Plug into Digicel Plus and get even more entertainment with Disney Plus included. The best of Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, and National Geographic all in one place. Whenever you want, plug into Plus to enjoy Disney Plus and much more with a home fiber bundle. Sign up today. Digicel Plus.
Corn! Yes, we're back! It's the 7th annual Corn Festival going down on Sunday, October 29th at the popular Footprint Bar behind Sand. Corn will be in all forms and fashions, from asham to roast corn to boiled corn, pay me to conky to corn soup, and much more. With loads of entertainment and games for everyone. So be there from 2 p.m. because there will be loads of beach games, dominoes, maypole dancing, and string band music. Mark your calendar and make sure you're part of Cornfest 2023 on Sunday, October 29 at Footprint Bar, Lauriston, Carriacou. Our partners for this event are the Grenada Tourism Authority, the Antillean Group, Ministry of Carriacou and Petty Martinic Affairs, National Lotteries Authority, Ariza Credit Union, Massa, Grenadine Airways Limited, and Classic Caribbean Lighted. Corn Fest 2023, October 29th. I'll see you there.
Climate change is real, bringing hotter days and less rain. Less rain means less water, so it's crucial for us to conserve water at home. When washing my vehicle, I use a bucket with rainwater that I have stored. This is how I save water. What are you waiting for?
Welcome back, viewers and listeners. It's Beyond the Headlines, and my guest this evening, Senator the Honorable Claudette Jospeh and Dr. Curlan. The minimum wage. And callers, you know the drill. You can call in now to be a part. The number is 440-1252. Make your questions as precise and to the point as possible, and we'll see how best we can accommodate it. Now, I wanted to ask this question before we went off on the break previously. From a regional perspective, how is Grenada rating in terms of its minimum wage? Before you answer that, I am told we have a caller on the line. Caller, good evening and welcome.
Good evening, Mr. Cotton Joseph. Can I ask Mr. Gilchrist that if I were to be successful in obtaining a mortgage to purchase one of the houses, if it's a 50,000 or 50 something, whatever, or the 70 something, it doesn't really matter, and I were to get it for 20, 25, or say 30 years maximum, how much money would that house eventually cost me? Thanks.
I guess she's talking when the financial institution incorporates its interests and everything like that. So, are you able to calculate that?
No, I'm not able to calculate that now, but of course, with interest over time, by the time you finish pay for the house, sometimes it doubles in terms of value, but that's nominal value, yeah? I mean, money now is worth more than money in the future, so it may look like a lot, but...
Yeah. As a matter of fact, in our discussion this morning, Mr. Thomas was saying the financial institutions are coming back to Housing Authority offering an interest rate that borders around 3.9 to 4%, just around thereabouts.
Yes. But in addition to the interest rate, also your age is important, and that's a factor, because I don't think the bank may lend anyone and give anyone a mortgage beyond 70 years.
Right.
So if you are 50 years old, that mortgage repayment will be different as if you say 25 years old. Okay. The more time you have would be the smaller the payment.
Yes.
So age would be a factor.
I think that Mr. Thomas explained this morning, it's easy. Your premium on an insurance policy will be much lower in your early years. We do have another caller on the line though. Caller, good evening and welcome.
Yes, good evening to you, sir, and good evening to your guest. Now, my interest will be the minimum wage. Now, I know minimum wage is really needed because cost of living is very high. But I am worried because it's an expenditure side, and my concern is that how would the business people would they be able to adjust? Do they have the revenue source to adjust to take a new minimum wage, bearing in mind that foreign exchange might be scarce? How would they accommodate that? That's
when you say business people, are you referring to employers?
Employers. I'm talking about the employers.
Okay.
Because to me, it's a bit stiff in some cases. And do they have the exchange, the foreign exchange, or the revenue source to pay what they might do, they might agree, and then eventually they decide they're not going to employ, or they're not going to, they're going to lay off. It's a possibility. So that is my concern. But I have another suggestion to the panel. A group of us, because we talk of economic growth, a group of us has taken a decision to procure, because the government is talking about infrastructure development. We have taken a decision to procure a list of heavy equipment that the government can procure to deal with that area. I don't know if we have gone too far, but that is on the desk of three sections: the Prime Minister, the Minister of Agriculture, and the Minister of Economic Affairs. This document is on the desk as we speak. So I thought I should mention that.
All right. Thank you, caller. I could not see the correlation with foreign exchange and
no, I didn't see
and so forth.
But I suspect the caller is probing to see to what extent businesses have the revenue to absorb any anticipated adjustment that they have to make. I suspect that's where he's going. Yeah?
Okay.
And I can answer that from the conversation we have been having with. And of course, he's also saying, what if they say, okay, it's okay, we agree, and then, they change their mind and start laying off people.
Some people getting unemployed.
Getting unemployed. So that's a good question.
Yes.
Our conversation with employers, we discuss those things. Yeah, the ability to absorb. And as a matter of fact, we did ask them, well, how much can you absorb? Yeah? How much can you absorb? So it was, a conversation that relied in its conclusion on the ability of the employer to handle whatever adjustment is being proposed.
And
yeah?
Are there any laws in place that says because of the new minimum wage you cannot cut your staff or anything like that?
No, but I spoke to one employer who said, well, I need my staff. Okay. If I lay off my staff, who would provide the services to customers? Okay. So they needed staff.
Okay. We do have another call on the line though. Caller, good evening and welcome.
Good evening again, Mr. Joseph. As concerning the houses, right? I think it might have been good to have a banker there, because I find Mr. Gilchrist at his level in economics. He can give us the public at the interest rate of 3%, 4%, 5% was the maximum I heard on one of the programs before. You can give people a close enough figure as to what the house would eventually cost. That's not high science.
From my personal banking experience, right? These things are intricate that you would deal with when you're doing your application.
Tell us again, Gordon.
Hi? I did not hear you. Okay. Yes, it will be different. It's different with the age of the prospective buyer, and sometimes you might have some other injections into it, So it varies. But as I said this morning, we had the chairman of the Housing Authority, and he said that the financial institutions, in responding to their requests, they were bordering somewhere between 3.5, 3.9, and 4% interest. So that in itself, and even if we had a banker here, I don't think the banker would divulge the exact cost.
I will be able to.
Yes.
Because it's a formula you use when you're amortizing a loan.
Yes.
What the caller is speaking about is what would be the amortization.
Yes, the final cost
for the loan, and what you will pay if your mortgage runs 15, 20, 25 years or 30 years.
But that's a good sign. People are interested.
Yeah, but what you will pay will depend on your age.
Yes.
Because the younger you are, the longer period you get to pay, and whatever additional terms and conditions are attached.
Sometimes you might have $20,000 that you want to inject into it.
Or exactly what you can pay down, because some people may have the money, some money, you make a down payment. But what I want to say, just to remind our people that these are low-income houses, as somebody said to me today, low-income houses, not no-income houses. Yes. They were never free. We just changed the method to give people more.
Yes, empower the people. We do have another caller on the line. Caller, good evening and welcome.
Yeah, good night. Good night to your guest, the minister, and Dr. Gilchrist.
Welcome.
Dr. Gilchrist, I want to make reference to something you said the other day to the point. Something to the effect that because there was an increase or adjustment, as you put it, to the minimum wage, employers actually had you might say they had a windfall during the period. So I think you probably need to emphasize even more than just the requirement because of the economy and increasing wages, that this is an issue of justice. You might have mentioned it before, an issue of justice, because nobody would like to get a salary, a wage that can get them the minimum thing. So the minimum in need. So rather than see that some people have been trying to promote it as an increase and affect the employers and so on, actually the employers have been benefiting over there. And then to the minister, I heard the chairman said this morning that people like alone own the property here. We don't own, except a few people because of connection with the past regime. They got tenureship or ownership, whatever you say. But the majority of us here don't have ownership, and I know that is a Ministry of Health, a Ministry of Housing issue rather than the Housing Authority. But I hope that you folks could address that quickly, because it's maybe overdue. Thank you.
You'd like to respond?
Before you go, caller, I think he had him hang up.
Yes, he had that.
Yes, I wanted him to confirm, because he sounds as though he lives at La Colombe, based on what he said. I wanted him to confirm that the arrangement doesn't allow them, as he suggested, except in a few instances, based on connection. The arrangement doesn't allow them to ultimately own
if they
the property.
Housing authority,
from what I understand, it goes back to Housing Authority.
Choose to enter into an arrement with a family member
or stranger. So
that's
you're not building.
All by itself.
Yeah, you're not building any generational wealth. These are the things that we want our people to come along with us on, because rest assured, in everything we do, we are working in the interest of the people. In this arrangement, think about it. The homeowners, they get to own something to call their own that they can use as collateral for future purchases,
as Mr.
vehicles, student loans, that kind of thing. Yeah.
He said you can say, okay, the house is valued at $204,000, but I'm only owing $50,000 on it or so I can use it as collateral to get a student loan
for my daughter.
We do have another caller on the line. Caller, good evening and welcome. Good evening, caller. Welcome. Okay, we seem to have lost.
Good night.
Yes, caller, good evening. Welcome to the program.
Yeah, good night, Mr. Gordon and Jeff. I know someone who is 55 years old, paying a rent of $500. Could he, more or less at his age, get a loan because he needs a house? Would he be able at 55 years to get a loan somewhere to purchase a house?
Okay, well, he just might be.
I am sure I could get a loan at 55. Well, I'm not 55, but it depends on your ability to repay, to service the loan. And also remember, with these houses, special arrangements have been made. The institutions have been engaged directly by the Housing Authority. So the institutions know you have a range of individuals who are going to be coming to you for financing for these houses.
So whereas the program tonight wasn't really geared for the housing, but that seems to be what people are really, really interested in. But it ties
interested in minimum wages.
It ties in, right? Because with your minimum wage getting set, it puts you in a more solid position that you can make a more authoritative claim to the financial institution. Listen, I am getting $1,200 a month now, minimum. So, whereas I would have been paying rent $700 a month, the offer with the houses allows me to pay $400 and something a month, so I can afford it. But we do have another caller on the line. Caller, good evening, welcome. We lost that caller. I heard the beep. I really wanted us to get a comparison as to how Grenada is doing on the region as it relates to our minimum wage, because in a previous dialogue, the comparison was made with Antigua and that of Grenada as it relates to our GDP and so forth.
Yes.
So how does we rate on the regional market?
Well, yes, and as I speak to this, I just want to be just a caution that in comparing, we have different levels in terms of economic development. So one has to be careful in doing a comparison.
Natural resources and all this.
So I'm giving a comparison just nominal, just
market comparison.
Yeah, just a market. Being mindful that the economic development varies from country to country. Yeah, even cost of living may differ. So I'm being mindful of that. St. Lucia, for example, has recently constituted a minimum wages committee. They have never had minimum wages. Maybe they may have been inspired by what we are doing in Grenada. Yeah, because they know what we are doing is no secret. The region is watching us, and they are taking cue from what we are doing, especially the engagement of people in the decision making and coming up with public policy that would affect them. Yeah, so St. Lucia, as I speak, has recently constituted a minimum wage committee, and very soon they'll be making recommendation. St. Vincent the lowest rate is $625, and they have an hourly rate of $6. But as I speak, St. Vincent's minimum wage committee will announce sometime this month new minimum wages adjustment. Yeah, so they are working on that also, but they are around $6. What we have, if you do a little mathematics with it, we may come out with the lowest hourly rate around $7.50. If you do all the mathematics with what we are proposing, and of course Antigua and Dominica, they are up over $8 per hour. Barbados is over $8 per hour. So we are still below, in a sense, the regional minimum rates, but with the adjustments, we are getting there.
What's our minimum rate at the moment, hourly wage?
Well, what is being recommended, we have rates for different categories. For example, securities, guards, for example, the minimum proposed is $9.25 per hour. Yeah. If you look at call centers, yeah, we are a little bit lower. It's a new one, yeah, and we are a bit lower, yeah, for now. But again, we are going to monitor those rates, and of course, we have to make adjustment in the next 2 years. So, because of the long time in making the adjustment, we are cautious about the magnitude of what is being proposed, and kind of taking it in progressively. Yeah, but I don't anticipate, subject to of course the government sign off, I don't anticipate across all sectors you will have a rate lower than $7.50 per hour. I don't anticipate that. Yeah, I don't anticipate that. But
something I want to get clarified here: when that minimum wage is set, will there be some stop check methods to ensure that they are being adhered to? The minimum wage is being adhered to.
Let me second speak to that.
Yeah, that would be within the remit of the Ministry of Labour. As it stands now, the law requires the entities to publish or to affix the minimum wages on the premises so that it is visible all times for the workers. A lot of entities don't comply with this current provision of the law.
And it's in the law?
It's in the law now.
Okay.
And so the workers would be always aware of what the minimum wage they should be receiving, right? And if they are being paid below, the usual complaint mechanism at the Ministry of Labor will kick in, and we will require the employer to make good. There are steps that we can take. In fact, we just recently had to do one with a major employer who was underpaying the staff across the board, but local and foreign. But the local workers were actually being underpaid worse than the foreign workers. And that employer was made to pay the workers the sums due because they were being forced to pay, to work overtime and not paid for the overtime. So the Labor Department, the Labor Ministry has experience in that regard in causing employers to make good on what is due to workers. So that side wouldn't be an issue.
We copy a lot of things from North America, and one of the things I wish could be, implemented now is seeing that statutorily it's supposed to be revisited every 3 years, and it wasn't done for so many years. Now that it has been reviewed, how about making the employees a little happier for Christmas and give them something retroactive?
Oh no, no.
Employees, I'm pleading for you now.
but as you on that point, I can speak for the Ministry of Labor on this statement. Of course, there'll be a lot of public education, knowledge. People must know. In the past, you have workers not knowing what their rights are. You have a right to know what is the minimum wage payable for that particular occupation. Yeah, the minimum. Of course, we don't anticipate workers remaining at the minimum. You should desire to move up the ladder, training, upskilling yourself, additional qualification and so on. Yeah, it's not a position that you should remain in. You enter there, but you should move up the ladder. But public education, people should have knowledge, and we are hoping that the list, the schedule, will be posted on a notice board on the premises of businesses, so people can go and see. Just like the electoralists, you're going to check your name. All right,
how much you're supposed to be working for.
You see, and if you are in doubt,
how much? The minimum.
The minimum.
Yeah, there's a minimum. That's what your wage should be.
Yes, but minimum that I should be working for. All right, I should not be working for less. So come 2nd of January, when I come, I want to make sure that Janelle has it stuck up on the door.
So it's public knowledge.
In wrapping up, right, this is the final question because it's amazing how time has elapsed on us. Do you anticipate, both of you, that you'd get the full cooperation from employers across the board and thus have a more harmonious, healthy industrial relations in our economy, having that, just done that?
I'll answer, and then the minister would have the last word. We are working towards that cooperation, and I want to say publicly, thanks to employers for being so cooperative and being so frank, in attending to the discussion and being truthful and putting the facts on the table. So based on our conversation with employers, I anticipate full cooperation, and let's look forward to that. And of course, we'll be monitoring and see what happens. Yeah, and if things happen contrary, then we'll have conversation on that. But we anticipate we'll get the cooperation of employers to be truthful the implementation of the rates.
And looking at the common good of it.
And looking at the common good, yeah.
Well, listen, based on the approach that we have taken in embarking on this exercise, which is one of consultations, dialogue, and cooperation, we anticipate full cooperation from the employers of Grenada. Just to give you an idea of some of the entities that the Minimum Wages Advisory Committee engaged with, they spoke with the GIDC, the Grenada Hotel and Tourism Association, the call center operators, contractors in the construction company, bus associations, public sector senior managers, so government as well, Ministry of Agriculture officials, the beverage manufacturers, bakery associations, security companies, civil society organizations, the Grenada Media Workers Association, the agriculture sector, and then there was also a special meeting with the farmers. So in some instances, employers and employees were interacted with. And then, as I said, we had the public consultations across Grenada, Carriacou, and Pidimatnik, where employers and employees converged and had conversations. So if you listen to what Dr. Gilchrist said in the beginning, the employers themselves are saying, we think this is fair, we think this is manageable. So I think that approach that we've adopted of consultation and dialogue will augur well for the rollout of minimum wages. Because in fact there are one or two employers that were saying it should be higher. Okay. So I think we already have buy-in, and so we should have a smooth rollout and implementation. And because we have already operated in that spirit of collaboration and consultation, if we have any issues or glitches, we can always go back to these people because we've already started a conversation with them. So we have no expectation that this will not roll out smoothly, and that at the end of the day, come January 2024, employers and employees alike will be smiling, happy and pleased, yes.
Viewers and listeners, we've come to the end of yet another program of Beyond the Headlines, and as you heard and saw, we were talking primarily on the minimum wage. My guests this evening were Senator Claudette Jospeh, the Minister with responsibility for labor. She's also the Attorney General, and of course my good friend Dr. Curlan Gilchrist, is economist, very smart, very wise, very humble gentleman. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being on the program. To you, our viewers and listeners, thank you for being a part. Until the next program, Gordon Joseph bidding you peace and love.